So the Packers just keep on rolling. Just beat the Lions 42-21. Offense had an amazing game. What's going on, everyone? Bass here. So the game just ended. Like I said, Packers took that one, started a little slow, ended the game really hot. So I wanted to go over my thoughts and the stats and everything about what happened today. So let's start off by saying the Lions will always lion. Last week you saw Swift drop what would be a game-winning touchdown, and this week they start hot like last week and just stinker the rest of the game. It just wasn't good for them. I expected the Packers to win by 2 scores. They won by 3. And the trend continues. The Packers have scored 40-plus points the last 2 weeks, and I'm loving this offense that under Matt LaFleur. I'm loving their schemes. The defense is a little shaky, which I want to touch up on, but the offense I have zero complaints on. Aaron Rodgers is looking like a robot. Aaron Jones is still Aaron Jones. And some receivers and some other players are contributing when other players are out off the field. So I'm going to start with Aaron Rodgers. He went 18 for 30, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. So not as many yards and touchdowns as last week, but that can be attributed to Aaron Jones taking a poop on the Lions defense. But still, he pretty much did anything he wanted to throw. It was there. He was off on a couple throws, the one deep to MVS that got him potentially hurt, and then he came right back. A couple other throws just a little high on. But still Aaron Rodgers still made many plays on third down, and that just segues me into saying that this offense is, like, everyone seems to be schemed open so much better than last year. And, it could just be, Aaron Rodgers getting used to this offense, the whole, wide receiver room getting used to the offense. But it's nothing like when the last few years of McCarthy, when it felt like all the receivers were stuck to the corners, like they couldn't, get any separation. It seems like these plays that are being called are so great at scheming guys open, because it seems like every third down, there's a guy running across the field after a pick by another receiver, and he's wide open, like Lazard or MVS or Tay, whoever it is. So that's really good to see. So at the beginning of the game, defense looking really soft, and they did that last week. Vikings drove right down, scored 7. Lions did the same thing, pretty much running the entire time. A 15-yard penalty got them a decent bit of the way. It's looking iffy to start, but then they start to wow you a little bit later in the game. But I think that's more so attributed to the offense scoring a lot of points and getting up by a multi-score lead in order for the offense on the other side have to be more one-dimensional. Can't lead with the run, which is what you have to do to beat the Packers. So, if it has to be that way and the offense is just this freaking good, okay, but there's still holes in that defense that I think need to be addressed. So as last week, the main topic was Davante Adams, today is Aaron Jones. Obviously, a lot of people are saying, pay the man. I'm still in the boat saying it's going to be hard for them to pay David Bakhtiari and Aaron Jones. I'd love for them if Russ Ball could somehow figure that out. I know he's a genius with the salary cap, so if he can figure that out, great. But Aaron Jones is proving more and more how much he means to this Packers offense. 18 carries, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's 9.3 yards per carry. He also had 4 receptions for 68 and a touchdown. And if you saw the first drive right out of half, he just took it 75 yards, broke 2 tackles, is gone. Aaron freaking Jones, man, he's a really big weapon. And look, the media needs to start giving the respect this man deserves. There's so many lists in the offseason, and people just straight up disrespecting Aaron Jones. I've seen lists with him not even in the top 10 running backs in the league in the offseason. Like, get that shit out of here, man. People just continue to disrespect Packers players that aren't named Aaron Rodgers. And people still disrespect Aaron Rodgers, but Davante Adams is one of them. Aaron Jones, like, when do they start getting a name for themselves? Like, these are players that are so humble and they don't talk. Davante's not a Michael Thomas, like, bitching on Twitter constantly. Like, he's humble and he goes out and balls out. And I think that's why he's not so much of a diva, so he doesn't get that crazy attention. And it's wild. So Aaron Rodgers said it this week that Davante's the best receiver he ever played with, which is saying a lot. So, Aaron Jones, he needs his credit. He needs his respect, and put some respect on his name. Right next to Aaron Jones, you got Jamal Williams still being a very, very productive backup and a role player and just all-around good dude. 8 carries, 63 yards. He's that type of back that will go in there and do what you need him to do. He's a great pass blocker, as I keep saying. And when you need him to get 2 yards, he'll get those 2 yards and sometimes more. And his energy, you just feed off of it. You feed off of it through the TV screen. It's wild. And I know the whole team definitely does too. So for the offensive line, Lucas Patrick kind of had an iffy game. Let up a sack, the only sack Aaron Rodgers had this year. Had a hold. He's all right. He did all right. Rick Wagner had a very solid game. He was right tackle in place of Billy Turner. Billy Turner was active, but I guess they didn't want to rush him in if they didn't need to, and it deemed to work because Rick Wagner had a good game. So Davante Adams had 3 receptions for 36 yards. Early on, he had what seemed to be an ankle issue. He went to the sideline for a bit for a drive or two, and then brought himself back in, had a couple catches, and then stepped out in the fourth or third, I think, end of the third quarter with a potential hamstring injury. We'll know more about that as the week goes on. It didn't look like anything serious. He never went to the locker room, probably just like pulled a hammy a little bit or got cramps or whatever. And at that point, they're up 3 scores. Why even put him back in the game? So that's why he had low yardage. I wouldn't look too much into it. The other receivers, other than Aaron Jones, because he led the entire receiving group in yards, but MVS had 3 for 64. He had a nice catch on third down that he stepped out right after it, or else I think he would have had another like 20 yards on that. Where you beat Jeffrey Okudah, which was pretty much burnt toast all day. It's a young corner, Aaron Rodgers. I said it on FTFN this morning. He's just gonna pick on him. It's what Aaron Rodgers does. Alan Lazard 3 for 45. This receiver stepped up. I mean, there's a lot of drops today, and that is circling me back to the tight ends because Sternberger had 2 pretty bad drops. But I wouldn't go and say, "Oh, Sternberger, he sucks. He's a bust." I mean. I don't want to mean to beat the dead horse, but Davante Adams had drops. James Jones did. Jordy Nelson did. You just gotta let the guy go through his progressions and all that and whatnot. Big old Bob Tunyon had a touchdown. He had a solid game after a potential drop in the first drive on a deep flag route. He had a nice corner stop route to right before half, complete dime. Nice stop route by big old Bob Tunyon there. So I like this depth that they have in tight end position. That's without Dogora even playing today, but. Sternberger's got to step up if he wants to, keep seeing snaps, or else I think Dogora could take those from him. And as I was saying with MVS, just very, very, and as I'm mentioning drops, just very, very inconsistent. It's just, it's so hard to explain because one time he's making a great catch and a great play for 40 yards, and the next he's dropping something wide open. It's a train ride with MVS, but hey, I guess that's what it's like being a fan of the Packers sometimes. So I'm a fan of his. I'm hoping he can just put it all together finally and become a really solid target. Because if he puts it together and Lazard keeps staying on, and we know what Davante is, that's a decent trio of wide receivers. When everyone was saying they're going to be the worst in the league, and it's been nowhere near that. I don't think the worst receiver group in the league scores 40 points back to back to open the NFL season. Like, come on. Everyone clamoring for a 4th round receiver, 5th round receiver that probably would have got 15 snaps today and maybe 1 target if that. So just work with the guys you got. They're young guys. They have talent. Let them get their snaps, and they're doing good at it. So I'm hype about that. The 2-minute drill right before half, where I was talking about the Tunyon, the corner stop route. Perfect 2-minute drill. I think it was 47 seconds. They went down the field, did what they needed to do, and scored. To go up by 3, and then the defense kind of played prevent, and Preston Smith jumped off sides and allowed Matt Prater to attempt a 57-yarder. Luckily, he missed. Usually, Matt Prater's pretty money with the long ones, but he missed, and the Packers went into half with a 3-point lead and started with the ball to start the second half, which was awesome. That 2-minute drill really set the tone for the Packers in the second half. Flip around to the defensive side. If you saw my 3 breakout players for 2020, one of which was Chandon Sullivan. This dude had a hell of a game. A couple passes defended. He had that pick 6 when the line started within their 5 after what would have been a touchback, but the punt returner did a fair catch and blocked, which is a penalty. So they started within their 5. I think it was Agnew. And Chandon Sullivan jumped that curl route on the left side, pick 6. Just really good jump there. Just the same as Jair jumped the screen early in the game. Just these corners, they're really reactive, and I love it. Kevin King, Chandon Sullivan, and Jai Alexander is a good trio there. I do miss Tremont a little bit, but I think it's a better idea to give the young bull Chandon Sullivan these snaps. And if we need it down the line, say of injury or poor play, Tremont can always be on the phone. He's a pro's pro. He could always suit it up for Green Bay. So Z and Preston really didn't do crazy much. I mean, it's hard to fault the defense a crazy amount without Kenny Clark being in. I think he's that staple and the anchor of that defense. I think when Kenny Clark's there, everyone else can eat because he's taking all those double teams, and that's not going to happen with guys like Tyler Lancaster and Dean Lowry. It seems like Dean Lowry was on his ass every other play, but hey, whatever. Kingsley Keke, I saw he had a few pressures there. One guy I really want to talk about is Rashawn Gary. Like, where'd all the haters go? Because I didn't see him on Twitter today, He gets a sack and a half, almost 2 sacks, a lot of pressures. Where are they at? Everyone last year is shitting on the Rashawn Gary pick. And it's so funny to see people flip. Like, oh, the Packers, they had such a shit draft. And then now the Vikings, who had a A-graded draft, are 0-2 and just put up a stinker, like, against the Colts. And Kirk Cousins threw 3 picks. I think at a quarterback rating of 1.5. Good job, Kirk. If I die, I die. I guess, Kirk, you live by it. So all around, the defense in the second half seemed to be a lot better. But as I said in the beginning of the video, it could be stringent upon the fact that they made the Lions one-dimensional by scoring so much points and then pretty much said, okay, try to throw it, and then we're going to let our pass rushers go eat, which Rashawn Gary did. Keke had some pressures, like I said. I think Z and Preston had a couple pressures maybe, but just all around, still some things to work up with the D. Hopefully Kenny Clark comes back and that run defense can get better. I still think they need to acquire someone on that D-line. I know they offered Snacks Harrison a deal in the offseason, but he's still unsure if he's playing or not. That would be a major addition, especially if Kenny Clark's out for the next 2 games, because after that we do have a bye. But, these next 2 games are pivotal with New Orleans and Atlanta. So, all around, this game was a fun one to watch. I love watching divisional games when they beat up on them. It's just the best thing to watch. Like last week and this week, these 2 weeks have been a great 2 weeks. I'm going to touch in real quick. A.J. Dillon, tough runner. He had a few carries at the end there. One where it looks like he did a cartwheel. I don't know how the hell he stayed up, but he stayed up and gained 4 or 5 yards, which should have been a loss of 1. So look to see him getting a little more carries in there. The whole running back group is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. All 4 of them can make plays. And I think that's going to be the saving grace of this Packers team down the line. So before we end this one, I want to go through the injuries real quick. There's 3 of them. Like I said earlier, Devontae left with a hamstring issue. I think it's more so precautionary, and why put him in when you're up by 21? I don't see it being an issue. Lindsley went to the locker room with a hand injury. It's a little bit concerning considering he's a center. You don't know which hand that is and if he broke fingers. But usually linemen, if they break fingers, they just tape them up and they're good to go. But he did go to the locker room. But all these injuries are basically when the Packers pretty much already had sealed the game. So who knows, if it was a close game, they probably would have stayed in the game. And the last one, Tyler Irving, went into the locker room with a concussion evaluation. That's one to monitor. Concussions, it's different for every player, but it's just definitely one to monitor considering he's the punt returner, kick returner, and gadget player. I saw Josh Jackson had to come in at punt return and had a little shaky return there, but and got rocked. But all in all, a lot of injuries today in the NFL. Hate to see it. I hate seeing all these injuries to these star players. I'm hoping they all can recover. I think Nick Bosa is potentially having a torn ACL, which is terrible to see. But all in all, wonderful game. Ready for New Orleans next week. Should be a great Sunday night matchup. And yeah, so that's all I have for today. Everyone enjoy the rest of your Sunday. As always, go Pack Go.